Now only 2.1 billion naira oil money we don't receive, and the money come 3 times at 700 million naira per quarter, Edo State government. Edo State government don clear the air on top the 13% oil derivation refund wey federal government give oil producing states. You go remember say Governor for Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, talk for one of his project commissioning say President Buhari don give oil producing states arrears from 1999 for the 13% oil derivation refund. You go come still remember say the All Progressive Congress APC Edo State chapter con ask Edo State government wetin dem don use the 13% derivation refund do for the state. Edo State government con talk say na only 2.1 billion naira out of the 28 billion naira wey dem suppose receive from the 13% oil derivation fund for oil producing states dem don receive. Joseph Eboigbe, wey be the commissioner for budget and finance, wey talk this one on Monday for the press briefing wey dem do with tori pipo after the weekly executive meeting for Government House Benin City, con give the breakdown of the amount wey enter the state and the different projects wey dem don take and do. Con still talk say the 700 million naira wey dem don give the state quarterly dey less than the internally generated revenue (IGR) wey Edo State dey make per month.
The 13% derivation itself, our monthly allocation from Abuja, there are about 4 components. One, they call it the statutory revenue allocation. So that is all the tax that FIRS collects, everything they share it across the states. Then there's VAT. Then there's maybe proceeds from non-mineral oil and gas. And then there's derivation. That 13% derivation component is only earned by the states that have crude oil and gas. As I'm sure you are well aware, the commissioners of finance in Nigeria under the aegis of FAC, especially those from the oil-producing states, we spotted the fact that there was an anomaly with the federal government making deductions and not spending money rather from crude oil and gas sales and not taking out derivation. So the work was done, and a total of about 1 trillion naira was established to the oil-producing states. Now, it went through the whole process. Now, Economic Council endorsed, President approved, and a distribution methodology was adopted from RAMFAC, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and they now established what was going to go to each state. Edo State's share of that figure was 28 billion naira. 28 billion. It's a small figure out of the 1 trillion, but that's what will get to us. Now, what was also approved was the way and manner this money was to be distributed to the states. The net amount, again, they are usually statutory deductions. So the net amount will come to each state over 5 years. Each year you will have quarterly remittance, which means 4 releases each year over 5 years. Now, this disbursement was to start this year, but some states, 1 or 2 states went to court to restrain. All that happened, and then the releases now started in October, just last month. What federal government did, though, was to keep the share of each state. So by the time they started releasing, Edo State got 2 tranches, 2 quarter payments in arrears. And what we got was 700 million per quarter. This is verifiable in our bank account just behind here at Sterling Bank. So we've received 3 quarterly releases so far, 700, 700, 700. That is what has come into the state coffers. And it is verifiable, it is in the bank. Office of the Accountant General has the records. 700 million. It's a small amount relative to what we spend. On a monthly basis, Governor Obaseki normally disburses between 2 and 3, almost 3 billion naira monthly on capital expenditure. That's what we do monthly. And so that amount goes across all the projects that we have ongoing. It may be road, it may be buildings, hospitals, schools, and so on and so forth. So every month, we put out almost 3 billion. Okay, so this one has come, it will add to it, but it is 700 million naira. You know, so this is the reality. It's even a lot less than our monthly IGR now is 3 billion naira monthly. So we get 700 million quarterly, fine, it adds up to what we get, but you would understand that before this thing came, Mr. Obaseki was carried on with his own. We had established our budgets and we're executing it properly. In fact, this is another thing, another feat that Mr. Obaseki has achieved. The history in Nigeria is that governors, even at the federal level, will put out budgets. Capital expenditure versus recurrent expenditure. Development happens with capital expenditure. It is only Mr. Obaseki that has actually, by the time you audit the government's financials, you will see the actual expenditure, capital, is bigger than recurrent. For most other people, though, it is only in the budget. You show capital as bigger than recurrent in the budget. Then when the actual figures come, recurrent is always bigger than capital, which means they are not delivering true development. Take a look at the last 4 to 5 years. You will see that for under Obaseki, capital expenditure is bigger than recurrent. And last year, we almost closed out at 90% actualization of the capital expenditure budget. Now, this is the reality. And this, in fact, last week, the governor received an award on behalf of Edo State government from World Bank. They studied Edo State government, all the states in the federation, over the last 4 years. The program is called the State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability, and Sustainability Program. Federal government executed it with support from the World Bank. At the end of the program, they now gave governors awards. Edo State governor picked up an award for Edo State. They called it the state with the most efficient expenditure pattern, which means that they studied the spending in Edo State government. No padding, value for money, and you were actually delivering. And so they gave, it was only Edo State that got that award on expenditure efficiency. And this is from World Bank. So we are not talking about some entity that you can go and say, come and give me this award. The World Bank gave that award to the governor last week.
Chris Nekare will be the Commissioner for Communication and Orientation. Konya say the former governor for Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, collect 1 trillion naira from the federal government and other money when he be governor, and can still leave debt of about 160 million naira, even when na 40 million naira debt he meet when he enter office. He can still talk say Governor Obaseki na the most transparent governor they don't get for over 30 years, sake of say if they use the money for the state wella, can still do many ogbonge projects for the state.
Would not want to go into any kind of argument with former Governor Oshiomhole, because it is a known fact that when he came into office in 2008, Edo State had a debt burden of 40 billion naira. And by the time he left 8 years later, after receiving 1 trillion naira from the Federation account and all the incomings into the Edo State Treasury, was 1 trillion naira in those 8 years. Oshiomhole left. Edo State was owing 160 billion naira. Now, under normal circumstances, we won't want to speak on Oshiomhole because he doesn't have the moral authority to talk about transparency, accountability, especially when we have the most frugal government, the most transparent government Edo State has produced in the last 25, 30 years, which is this government headed by Governor Obaseki. To have someone like Adams Oshiomhole question us is actually embarrassing. But we will not speak yet. We will wait for when he climbs the podium. We are lucky he's also contesting an election. At the right time, we will now call him to answer to Edo people. And we hope you people will be able to ask him these questions which I have raised. This state has judiciously used all the resources. We're not a rich state, but we are rich in human capital development, and we are rich in the sense that we have a lot of people who are able to manage our resources in such a way we get the major benefit from it. And that is why when the federal government a few days ago released the multidimensional poverty index, Edo was just among the best states not suffering from poverty because we are using our money properly. We are not using it for fancy projects to make people or make the state look good. Instead, we're using it to build a system where people are taken care of to make sure that life is better for our people, not fancy projects. Building roads on Ekenwa Road, we are building roads in Akoko-Edo, Esako, Esha. We are doing all these things. We'll be able to make sure that our workers get their salaries at as when due. We do not owe salary areas, we do not owe pensions areas. All this is coming in because of the way we have managed our resources. But I can assure you that Edo State government have a very good story to tell.
Cruz Osage will be the special advisor to the Edo State governor on media projects. Come Chukma talk say yes, some Wike talk this one sake of say election they come and to come cause tension for the country.
From what we have said, 28 billion total approved for Edo State to be spread over a period of time. And as we speak, only 3 tranches of 700 million each has come into the state, to 2.1 billion. And you know that on annual basis, our budget is usually between 250 billion and 300 billion. What percentage of 250 billion is 2.1? It's less than 1%. From there, you can analyze how important this amount is compared to the budget that we're implementing already for the state. So it's not a fantastic amount that has come into the state. Yes, some governors try to use it to play politics, but these are the facts. Why is it important that we announce every month that some money came in? Do we announce every month that we've collected taxes worth 2.7? We have an audited statement that is released every year after all expenditure is completed. We don't have to be announcing every month. And Wike knows the reason why he said it. It's because elections are coming in February. That's why I said it. Otherwise it's not news. I mean, the facts are there. The MBS has the statistics. The Federal Ministry of Finance has the statistics. Journalists have these statistics. They were not new information. So the man just said it to cause tension, and he has succeeded because we are all sitting here right now. That's what he wanted to achieve. So what? We collect extra 700 million came into the state coffers. Oh, we'll call a press conference. We end, and I mean, come on now. So it's because of politics. That's why we are sitting here. But we owe it to Edo people to explain to them and make them understand that there's nothing hidden that we are doing. These things are very transparent. These things are very clear.
Oluwatobi Odeshola, TMC TV News. Make una remember, say your PVC na your power. No go sell your votes give any politician or political party on election day.